and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Kelli.
And I'm Daniel.
And for those of you joining in for the first time, welcome to the best show you will ever hear on the internets, and the show that will make you the most broke as well. The way we format is first we start out with some news, ranging again from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. Mostly Nintendo this week, but of course every week is different. And we follow up with our comic book pull list of the week.
Yeah, out of all the companies that we follow, Nintendo was the one that came forward with the most amount of information and the most details too.
They went, this is our chance.
There's an opening.
We can be on the Reasons I'm Broke for their full episode.
So all the news, we'll kick it off with the fact that Nintendo did announce their full game lineup for the rest of 2015, including some brand new bundles.
So first up we have Yoshi's Woolly World for the Wii U. This is very similar to Kirby's Epic Yarn. If any of you have had the opportunity to play that, it is such a fun game. So adorable. But Yoshi's Woolly World will launch on October 16th at a price point of $49.99.
However, there will also be an Amiibo bundle for $59.99.
This bundle will include the game and a green Yoshi Yarn Amiibo.
This Amiibo can be purchased separately on the same day for $16.99. So if you're not planning on getting the game, you can purchase it on its own. But if you're getting Yoshi's Woolly World already, pay the extra $10 and just get the Amiibo for $7 cheaper.
Right, I kind of feel like that's a no-brainer. Or, I don't know, save the $10. I'm sure there's somebody who's like, I don't got the extra $10, I'll pay $17 later. I'll be like, you're crazy. Just skip lunch for a day. You're fine.
Yeah, you could do that. And there will be different colored Yoshi Amiibos coming out in the future, but for now they did show off the green one. And with that, the Mega Yarn Yoshi, which is a bigger version of this green Yoshi, will go on sale on November 15th at a suggested retail price of $39.99.
Suggested retail, which means they'll sell it for $50. This is an adorable Yoshi plush, though, just even by itself. So it is twice as much as the other Amiibo, and it does actually do the same exact things as the smaller Amiibo, but it's bigger and it's more adorable.
It makes for a much nicer display, that's for sure. When you tap either Yoshi, the big one, or the regular Amiibo size one, to the gamepad controller in Yoshi's Woolly World, Mega Yarn Yoshi activates Double Yoshi, which is a second Yoshi to use at any point in the middle of a stage, as well as the ability to save a player's favorite Yoshi pattern to that Amiibo.
I still think the full value in this Mega Yoshi Amiibo is the fact that it is a Yoshi plush that is adorbs, and a giant yarn Yoshi that you just want to hug. I wouldn't even tap it to anything. I just want to buy the Yoshi, forget the game, and I'd walk him around the house and stuff.
It almost costs as much as the game anyway.
Pretty much, but you'd see me eating eggs, full eggs, and I'd be like, meow, and you'd be like, Kelli, you're not a Yoshi.
You would be.
And then I'd throw them at you and I'd be like, meow. Aren't those Yoshi noises?
They are.
Yes. I got that from Mario Tennis.
One of my favorite games that I'm looking forward to in 2015, Star Fox Zero got a street date of November 20th.
This will release on the Wii U. Daniel can't ever stop talking about Star Fox. His favorite character ever is probably Star Fox.
Fox McCloud.
No, Star Fox. And there's that Falcon Man.
Falco.
And Tipsy the Frog.
Slippy Toad.
And Bunny Rabbit.
Peppy Hair.
Pepper Hair. So yes, Star Fox, Falcon Man, Tippy Toad, and Pepper Hair. Perfect. This sounds like a great game. That's the bootleg version.
It really is. I'm really hoping for some really good things from Star Fox Zero, especially since it is the same developers as Bayonetta 2. He actually put in a Star Fox level in the game when you play Bayonetta 2, when you reach certain requirements, like wearing the Star Fox outfit. Then you reach, I want to say the 12th stage or so. Then you end up controlling an R-Wing, and there's a bunch of little Easter eggs from the Star Fox universe. And it controlled really well, and I hope it controls in a similar manner when the full game comes out later on this year.
I'm sure it'll be a great game. Even if it's not, we'll be picking it up, and we will let you know how that is. November 20th, the release date. We also got a release date for Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, which will be September 25th at a price point of $39.99 on the 3DS.
The set of 100 Animal Crossing amiibo cards, which are compatible with the game, will launch on the exact same day.
The cards are sold separately, unfortunately, in packs of 6 at a suggested retail price of $5.99 per pack.
A bundle will also launch on September 25th, which includes the game, one amiibo card, and the Nintendo 3DS NFC reader accessory at a suggested retail price of $49.99.
The wireless NFC reader is also sold separately at a suggested retail price of $19.99. So if you're planning on getting the game, again, for an extra $10, you can get the reader with it as well.
Unless you already have the new version of the 3DS, which has the reader built into the system already. If you're like most of us, which just has a regular 3DS XL or even the classic
regular
one.
3DS XL.
Yeah, there's
Please,
a new
sir.
3DS now.
Pikachu 3DS XL. There is no regular about my 3DS XL.
I still remember that GameStop we got it from only got 2 Pikachu 3DSs. And,
Yes.
and that was it. In spite of pre-orders and
Yes.
all of that.
And I got one.
You did. You were very happy.
And I love it. And I could sell it now used for like $600. But I won't.
Remember we did an unboxing for that almost a year and a half ago on our YouTube channel?
That's cray.
Yeah.
That thing's going with me in my grave.
Probably. Yeah, it's a really cool system. But you were initially very excited about the Animal Crossing game because you just design furniture and you design wallpaper.
I was. And then they started doing all this nonsense.
What nonsense is that?
This NFC reader writer, pay me another $20 to play this game, and then you need all these cards to really get cool things, and I don't know, they added too much. I'm exhausted already, and I haven't even started thinking about playing the game.
So it looks like you're going to end up passing on it, so I don't think you'll really have a 3DS game that you're going to personally play this holiday season. You're just going to continue going through Fire Emblem, and maybe you'll finish Pokemon.
Maybe someday. I still have 2 Pokemon games I gotta finish. I got
are
Alpha Sapphire and Pokemon Silver, because I was playing through that again. And then I have Fire Emblem, which I'm playing through for the 3rd or 4th time. I don't know, I love that game. I kind of miss Pokemon Conquest. Was that game?
Yeah, that was sort of like Fire Emblem, but with Pokemon.
I kind of want to replay that. I probably need to play some more Harvest Moon. I need to play Kingdom Hearts, which isn't on the 3DS, but I'm just thinking of all the things I have to do. But let's be honest, I'm just going to work and take naps.
Probably, and record podcasts.
And
unboxings.
And unboxings. And eat some food like donuts and drink some coffee. And that's all that I do with my life.
That's basically it. So we will be passing on this Animal Crossing game, but in case you're a huge Animal Crossing fan, and this isn't quite the standard game that you will be getting or that anyone's going to be getting at any time, this will have a ton of extra things and extra accessories that will help you in experiencing the game on a completely different level. So we have another 3DS title, which might sweep the US the way it did in Japan, or it might not.
It won't.
What's it called?
It's called Yokai Watch. This will hit the US on November 6th for $39.99.
So this was a huge sensation in Japan, and it's essentially you're going around catching demons, although in the US I think they're going to call them ghosts, and you catch them using a watch that's on the character's wrist, and you use those demons to fight other characters in the game, and the main guy sort of looks like a red Pikachu, and then there's a little ghost. And if it is huge here too, I'm assuming, I don't know if it'll impact Pokemon or if people will just play both. But I remember when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, there were some players that were suddenly buying those cards instead of Pokemon, so Pokemon waned for a little bit. So I don't know how Yokai Watch is actually going to do here.
I will not be playing it.
It might be good. You don't even know.
You can play it, and then you can tell me if you think it's good, and then I can say you cray, and then I'm still not going to play it.
So you're not even going to give it a chance?
No. See, if this was like Yokai Watch Snap, then maybe.
Well, you sort of take pictures with your watch to catch them.
No, you capture them.
You capture them using your watch. You aim your lens watch at the demons, and then you catch them.
That's not how it goes. But then you gotta still fight things. I don't want to fight things.
You fight things in Pokemon.
Yeah, but I don't even like fighting those things. I just like collecting my Pokemon, and then I find my in-game boyfriend and make sure I save next to him all the time. Pretend that we go out to dinner or something. And then I run around, and I'm like, oh, Zubat, run. Oh, Magikarp, run. Oh, Tentacool, run. That's all I do. Such a fun game.
I don't even think there will be a Pokemon game for this holiday season. like a regular, I know it's Super Mystery Dungeon will be releasing,
Boring.
but not a standard Pokemon game like we did last year and the year before that with X and Y and then Ruby and Sapphire the following year. So people were expecting them to actually announce Pokemon Z, and they never did. So I'm really not sure what what they were going to do.
What is Pokemon Z?
What is Pokemon Z? I will
Yes.
tell you what Pokemon Z is. Pokemon Z is what Yellow was to Red and Blue, what Crystal was to Gold and Silver, what Emerald was to Ruby and Sapphire, and what Platinum is to Diamond and Pearl. That's what Pokemon Z is.
That's my favorite Pokemon announcement ever. They need to forget Pokemon Z and just remake Yellow, because that would sell a shit ton. They have no idea. Like, people would buy systems. No, this is what they need to do. I'm sure they have some more Pikachu 3DSs lying around, right?
They could make more.
Like, okay, so how much did that cost? Just make a new one. You just gotta replace the shell, like, easy McPeasy, right? And then release that as a Pikachu 3DS in a bundle with Pokemon Yellow remade, and it would sell that shit for like $600. I would buy it.
Yeah, I have no idea what the Pokemon Company is working on at all, and I'm hoping that they go back to the world of X and Y, because that was an excellent game.
I don't think I ever finished it.
But people kept asking for the remakes on Ruby and Sapphire, and they got it, and it still ends up being just an okay game. So more X and Y, and I'll be
they need
absolutely
to
happy.
Remake Yellow with a limited edition Pikachu 3DS. My mind, like I would die. That would be the end.
We do have other Pokemon news, and this one actually relates to an amiibo.
So Mewtwo's amiibo is set to release on November 13th for $12.99.
And on my end, Falco from the Star Fox series will launch on November 20th.
Yes, Falcon.
I actually went into my local GameStop, and they weren't actually taking any pre-orders for any amiibos. And according to the guy, and it's just one person, one worker, but he said that GameStop will actually not be taking pre-orders moving forward for certain amiibos like these, like the Falco or Mewtwo, that it's just going to be a first come, first serve.
Shit.
And they're just going to leave it at that because of the way that the reserves were handled in the past. Like, the systems couldn't take the pre-orders all at once, and people didn't get theirs. So they're just like, you know what, forget it. First come, first serve. Just come outside and line up on the day of release, and you can get it that way. But as far as like bundle amiibos, those you can still pre-order, because they knew how much they were going to be allocated, and they're a little bit higher in price, so they don't expect as many pre-orders as the single ones. So it's kind of insane. I'll just have to wait after the holiday rush to try to get a Falco, but I'm hoping that Falco is as easy to obtain as Fox was when that first released, so you can use it in the new Star Fox game. I thought they were going to release separate amiibos for Star Fox Zero, and it doesn't look like they are, at least not right away, maybe next year.
They need to release like a 4-pack with Star Fox and Falcon and Tipsy Toad and...
I'd buy the 4-pack. I will admit, I'd buy that.
Jumping back into some Pokemon, Pokemon World's 2015 champions have been crowned.
In the TCG, Masters Division winner was Jacob Van Wagner from the U.S., Senior Division was Patrick Martinez from the U.S., and in the Juniors Division was Rowan Stavenow from Canada.
Pokemon.com has posted the full deck lists for all 8 players in each age division.
And if you did miss out on the Twitch streaming of the event, which happened all weekend, and whenever I was on break at work, I'm like, okay, let me go back to the channel and watch some games, and really entertaining. But if not, you can go out on YouTube, type in Pokemon 2015 World Championship TCG, and from there you can check out the different rounds, check out just the finals. And as someone who plays every single week on Pokemon TCG online and runs a Pokemon League, it was very fun to see what the champions had put together in their deck, and what was going to be the thing that suddenly I saw every single player try to use and try to build.
Was it Smeargle?
It was not Smeargle. The winner ended up being a Keldale Water Blastoise deck. The Blastoise card allowed you to attach water energies onto one Pokemon, so you can move the energies and attach it to a certain Pokemon, and from there they could attack. So since they were able to draw off the Blastoise, they put out the Keldale, which does 20 times the number of water energies on it, so they just threw all the water energies from the field and attacked, and then if they wanted to, they could move them back next turn. So it was a really, really fast moving deck, and it was kind of intense because the whole time they were waiting for him to get the Blastoise, and it was kind of intense, and they're like, oh, is he going to get the Blastoise, or if not, he won't be able to attack. It was just a really fun match. Definitely check it out. And already I did see the event ended like a couple hours before my Pokemon League, and a player came in with the winner's deck, and he's like, "I've got it right here."
How did he? What? How is that possible?
Well, they have the deck list. Again, Pokemon.com put up the deck lists, and the people that have run the event have the deck lists ahead of time, because you do have to submit it so that they can, go through it and make sure it's all legal and everything. So those deck lists go up online ahead of time. And so he went through his collection and he put up
so
together
you already
a deck.
had all the cards.
Yes.
I thought you meant he went out and bought one of those packs that's like the winner. And I'm
No.
is this like the Super Bowl where they just like start printing that shit right after it happens and gets it in stores? I didn't think it was that big.
We actually have to print it in the shop with our HP printer in the back, and it's like really thin paper. It's awful.
Printer paper?
They just glue it onto a real Pokemon card, so it's that same
then
thickness.
It's okay.
And yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Like all those proxy cards from our old
They still
Pokemon
use those. Then what they do now is they'll print out the card, what it looks like, and there'll be a big text that says proxy on it in the actual image. So if you have a little bit of dough, that's what you do, is you just print out a legitimate. But if you don't, if you're a regular player, like 90% of the players out there, you take a piece of notebook paper and
you just rip it. You don't even like fold it to make the lines even.
No, you just rip it and write Lugia EX and stick it in front of a card on a sleeve, and you're like, that's my proxy. Some players didn't even have that. Like, there was just a backwards card, and they're like, this is a Shaman. And it's like, how do I know? You didn't even write Shaman on it or anything. You just say it's whatever card you want.
Right.
Oh, it's my proxy Lysander that I happen to need right now. So he had it, and interestingly enough, the player didn't win a lot of matches, and it's something that is funny, because even though you have a deck that is exactly what the champion used and won with, that doesn't mean that you know how to use it or how to play with it, or know the order of operations to what you need to win or how your deck goes quicker. If I were to hand someone my Gengar Chandelier deck, they wouldn't know who's the main attacker. They wouldn't know who I'm trying to build up, why I keep my Litwicks on the bench so I can build up the Chandeliers and just use my Gengars as attackers. That there's a strategy to every single deck, and just because you have the pieces doesn't mean you know how to put it all together to win yourself a match. Right. But it was still interesting to see that players were that excited and wanted to follow the champions and wanted to follow the other players. And huge congratulations to all of them on they won scholarships, and they get their cards printed in the World Championship decks that we'll see coming out, I want to say next year. So very interesting.
Are you too old to play in this thing?
No, I'm not.
Well, then go play in this thing.
I'm not, but I am, because I probably wouldn't win.
I think you should try.
These players count their cards. They know what's going on with how many cards they have left. There's all these numbers running through their heads at all times, and I don't have any of that.
Yeah, but your Chandelier's like, nah, I got this.
It's true. Like, a lot of these players focus on, this is the strongest card. Tyranitar EX does 60 times the number of damage counters on the other Pokemon. So he does 700 damage, and Chandelier's like, oh, that's cool. You can defeat any Pokemon in the TCG, knock it out with one hit. But I'm the only one who brings your ass down with me. And fucking Chandelier brings him down, and I get 2 prizes, and fucking they're left with nothing, and I've got a Gengar. I don't know, maybe I've got a chance.
I think you could win.
I say that, but I lose all the time in TCG Online. But it's just, it's for fun. I built a deck around Gengar, who was really fun in the Phantom Forces set, and it's a Pokemon that I enjoy. So I'm like, yeah, let me see if I can make a deck work out of this. And so far, it's been doing all right.
Some unfortunate news related to the Pokemon World Champions, though. 2 players who were formerly invited to participate in the Masters Division were arrested following Facebook posts that they put up before the tournament.
Yeah, if you were on Twitter at all that weekend, you've definitely heard about it. But the details for it, in a private Facebook Pokemon TCG group, the pair put up images of a 12-gauge Remington shotgun and an AR-15 rifle.
Dummies. Along with other members of the group, the 2 players joked about how this would be Columbine Part 2, and that another player would lose to his AR-15.
And since the tournament took place in Boston, one player claimed that this would be another Boston massacre.
Dummies. Like, do they not realize what they're posting on?
You know this is the internet, yes?
Well, I mean, like, everyone can see that.
Right. Even if it's a private group or a private chat, someone can share it once and you're done.
Right.
You're going to see it all over the place.
So, Pokemon fans, very smart, notified the Boston Police Department, who stopped both players on their way to the venue.
Yeah, they drove up from out of state, and when arrested, neither could produce a license to carry any guns. That's because of the state that they were from. They didn't need it for these particular weapons. But when you go into another state like Boston, you do have to follow their laws with weapons. And after a search warrant, investigators found that the 2 weapons that were posted were in the car, along with several hundred rounds of ammunition and a hunting knife.
Okay, but anyway. Both players were arrested and have been banned from participating in Pokemon events for life.
This marks the first time in the U.S. that a Pokemon event was threatened in this way. And even the Facebook post wasn't the whole thing. Like, before the tournament, they threatened to shoot one of the other players because they weren't invited to one of the chat rooms, and people that sort of knew them from the online and from playing with them said that they were a little bit shy, a little bit reserved, but could get a little bit mean-spirited, and kind of they like to bully other players online too. So there's definitely not the kind of guys you want with weapons.
There's cause for concern, obviously.
Red flags, yep.
But due to this incident, security was beefed up at Worlds, and there was a bomb-sniffing dog present, along with bag checks for attendees.
Yeah, this did slow down the process for a lot of players to actually enter Worlds, and some of them said that they unfortunately missed out on some of the matches because they were so thorough in checking the weapons and checking for bombs. But, it's good. Like, yes, you have to miss out on some matches, but at least, credit to the Boston Police Department and to the Pokemon players and to Pokemon Worlds who actually ran the event on making players feel safe.
It's unfortunate that most of this might have even been a joke, but really, people? Like, I'm just baffled that this even happened.
It's not even something to joke about.
Right, no, I mean, I agree, but some people don't have the filter, or they have a certain sense of humor. Like, I'll use myself for an example. When somebody's like, oh, this person's stupid, I'm like, well, punch them. I mean, would I actually punch them? No. That's just my humor. And so even if this was their humor, that's not something that you joke about, online where people can see. I don't understand.
Whether or not they intended it to be a joke, everything was done right as far as the police taking action and players notifying and telling someone about it in the first place, because you'd rather they'd be caught and be checked out for if they had the weapons, which in this case they did, than to just let it go. And who knows, this could have been a different story this weekend of many people being seriously injured or possibly killed. So this is the better outcome. Leave it at this. What people debate about, weapon control or gun safety, mental health or non-mental health, whatever it may be, but just black and white facts, like, this is all the correct line for if you ever see anything like that, report it and then let the authorities handle it. And thankfully they did, and something might have been prevented.
You know who would have stopped them, though?
Motherfucking Batman.
I was gonna say Hernan Superman.
I thought you were gonna name a Pokemon.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, Pikachu would have stopped them too.
His Electro Ball.
Yeah. My Electro Balls.
Pikachu, you're not even throwing a ball at him. You're actually just teabagging him in his face.
But it's electricity to your face. And it's extra worse. Because it's an electric teabag.
Oh, that's true. Electric teabags. That would hurt.
That would hurt like a bitch.
And be warm at the same time.
Be warm? No. Hernan Superman. Because what are we talking about next?
Justice League Gods and Monsters. Finally got to see it.
Finally got to see it.
So this is the production made up from Bruce Timm. Originally, he wanted it to be a television show, but after they went over the script and did some filming with it, they found that it was not going to be something that they could air on television.
And it's not something that they could air on television.
Yeah, you heard us do some reviews the past couple of weeks on Justice League Gods and Monsters, the one-shots, and the actual prequel 3-issue comic. And thankfully, we read those ahead of time, because if we hadn't, a lot of what they do show in Justice League Gods and Monsters wouldn't have made quite as much sense. So if you want to break down, we could talk about story first. We can talk about the animation. I don't know what direction you want to go in.
Let's talk about the animation, because I feel I have less to say on that.
Okay.
I thought it was okay. You had some strong comments about it.
Yeah, I give Bruce Timm a bigger fucking budget, because when I'm watching this, there was a lot in here. I'm like, the television show, Justice League Unlimited and Justice League, looked 100 times better than some of these scenes in this. that I really couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is an animated feature, hour and a half, and then you have Justice League, which is 30-minute episodes for entire seasons, and you couldn't give them extra money to really clean up some of these things. It's not quite as smooth. Some of the characters don't look the same when they cut to a different scene. It's definitely Bruce Timm's style with all the character designs, but sometimes it just doesn't look right. There's a scene in which Batman is visiting some of his but college friends, and as he's entering the home and walking through, it looks really odd, and it doesn't look well animated. Like, they could have taken another 3 months or whatever to just really... I don't know why 3 months.
That's a long time.
It might maybe even longer. I don't know. But some of it was unfortunately not as well animated as it should have been, especially for a Bruce Timm production.
I can see what you're saying. For those of you who have listened to our podcast for a while, you know that for me, the art and the style of things are a little less important than the story. So it didn't bother me as much. I didn't get lost. I mean, the art didn't pull me away from the story. But I can definitely see what you're saying. Yes, Justice League Unlimited did look way better. But we got to see some Bruce Timm art. I mean...
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my whole point is Justice League came out almost 10 years ago, and, you know, we have better technology now, and it somehow ended up worse. I don't know. It was very awkward. But now the story, which is what you have more to say about.
Of course, I do like the story better. I agree with you. I am very glad that we read the one-shots first, because we got to understand a little bit more about these characters. I did like the way they dove into Wonder Woman and Batman's past a little bit, and we got to see their stories of where they came from. But like you mentioned, all throughout the movie, Daniel maybe had a few drinks. He was hilarious watching this movie. They didn't go into Superman's background.
Right.
We get to see one little scene
at the very beginning of the film,
and that's it.
The basic premise, and it's not spoiling the whole thing for you, is someone is framing the Justice League, and as the movie continues, you find out why, what the motivation is, what the end game is, and as we're unfolding the mystery, they cut in flashbacks with, like you mentioned, Batman and Wonder Woman, and it really breaks up the pace of the story, because as you're getting going, we suddenly visit the past of these characters, and for probably a good 20 minutes on each one, and it's just kind of like, all right, well, what about the main story? Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to the main exact story, there's a huge portion of it that focuses on Superman's past and where he came from, and how he may not be the person he thinks he is, that maybe he, with the wrong intentions or with a little bit of truth, he could very easily slip into a villain, because he is such an aggressive Superman. And that would have meant a lot more if we got Superman's past as well, and we did not. Yeah, at one point he says, I come from a humble people. How do we know this? Like, we know in the comics he was picked up by illegal immigrants, and at the very beginning, that's that opening scene where he is found by illegal immigrants, and that's all we get. Mm-hmm. In the comic, that's when you see his upbringing, his aggression as he's growing up, which made us appreciate the character more watching the movie. But if we hadn't, we'd be like, so what? Why do we care about Adnan Zod?
Definitely, that was a frustrating part of the movie. Also, I mean, the villain was okay. His motivation was okay. There wasn't enough meat for me to really grab onto and be like, you know, I believe this Justice League. I believe what they're trying to do. Even when they were trying to be framed, and we actually have the final installment of this comic later today, and I could talk about it then too. But all the evidence they were coming up with was just kind of light evidence. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't really research it, but we think it's you guys. You're framed.
Right.
And I'm like, it was a very, very dark movie. Mm-hmm. Definitely not for children. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of cutting people in half. There's a lot of burning people alive. Skeletons and spooky things. And the whole time you were watching it, you were like, oh, shit. Oh, they did that. Oh, no!
Yeah, like, people getting split in half as they're pulled apart from their fucking arms and legs. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I'm not used to that with Bruce Timm drawing, so it's like, oh, that's fucking weird. So the kid in me is like, what's going on?
I need an adult.
Where's real Batman?
I'm surprised Harley Quinn didn't show up. I really am.
Well, she was only in that Batman short where she was murdered by Batman.
Oh, that's right. They did mention Ivy, though.
Yeah, very briefly they did. And I am glad that they didn't just say, oh, and here's this version of Ivy, and here's this version of
Right.
Supergirl.
I did like the versions of the people that they brought forth. I thought they were all really, really interesting. But I am very glad that we didn't get to see the other versions of everybody.
Right, just so that they can, for the novelty of like, look how clever we are with these other guys.
I wouldn't mind if they released something later that's like, okay, here are the character designs and maybe a little few pages or just a little summary of where they are in this other universe. I think that would be really cool to see another interpretation, because I do like the ideas that they put forth with this other Justice League, even though they may not be executed as well as I would have liked.
Of the 3 Justice League members, after watching the movie, who's your favorite of the 3?
Batman.
Oh, the Batman. See, when I read the comics, I thought he was a little too weak for me. Like, I understand he's struggling.
In the comics, yeah, but in the movie, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's okay.
He's cold, but his heart is still warm. Oh, Batman.
I don't know.
Oh, Batman.
I liked Wonder Woman a lot.
She was cool.
This version better than the one in the comics.
I went to cosplay as her.
Superman was pretty awesome as well, but only because we read the comics. I feel like if we got a sequel, we may, I don't know, I want to say we may enjoy that one more than the first one.
Sequels are never as good as the first one.
That's not
rarely.
true.
Rarely.
That's not even true either.
Rarely. Mulan 2, terrible. We're not counting
Star Wars 2.
We're not counting
Empire Strikes Back.
That's
the ultimate sequel.
I haven't seen that one in forever.
To a lot of people, The Dark Knight.
Well, okay, we're not talking, I said rarely. Name me another sequel.
It's not a rarely. So you want to say a majority of the time, sequels aren't as good as the original, which I still disagree with, but...
We'll ask the Brokettes.
Fine. Ask the Brokettes. X-Men 2, better than X-Men 1.
I don't remember that one either. Brokettes, do you agree that sequels are rarely as good as the first one? We're not counting Terminator 2. We're not counting
Terminator 2. Yes.
We're not counting the Dark Knight series.
Oh, Terminator 2. And when they're good, they're even better. Like, Mass Effect 2, better than Mass Effect 1.
We're Mass Effect, and we're talking about movies, not video games.
Fine, you can ask them, but be specific. Define rarely. What percentage? What does that mean? Like, how rare?
Not like... What's rare? Like, 80% of the time, the sequel isn't as good as the first one.
There you go. Burkett's going to answer that.
You can let us know what you think. Go to Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke, and respond with, yes, Kelly, you are correct.
All right, so now, speaking of Brokettes, we did get some questions from Facebook, actually. First one being from John, who asks, what movie are both of you looking forward to the most for the rest of 2015? My cousin wrote the screenplay for Sicario, which comes out in September, by the way.
If any of you haven't seen the trailer for this movie, it actually looks really, really cool.
Yes, it's very intense.
I had never even heard of it. I mean, to be honest, I don't hear about a lot of movies. Daniel's just like, hey, we're going to the movies. And I'm like, cool. And then we watch it, and it looks awesome, or it is an awesome movie. But this is definitely a movie that we will be seeing. Looked really amazing, had some great actors in it. I encourage all of you to look up the trailer.
Same director as Prisoners, which we really, really liked. That's from Warner Brothers. And it's absolutely amazing. It had Hugh Jackman in it, and he was fucking scary. Also had Jake Gyllenhaal in the movie. Both of them exploring this area where how much do you torture someone who you are 100% convinced that stole your daughter and took your daughter, and you only have 48 hours to find her, whatever it is.
He should have called Liam Neeson. He
should have. But in this, it's the exact same director, so we're going to get something very similar. Even from the trailer itself, when you're watching it, you're like, yeah, I can absolutely see where Prisoners can spin out of this. And you're not going to be comfortable watching this movie, and that's a good thing.
Back to the question, what are we most excited for the rest of 2015? You had mentioned earlier they are re-releasing Iron Giant in theaters. That's actually next month, the end of next month. So we are very excited for that. I don't know what else is coming out this year.
Well, you're going to have Star Wars Christmas.
Okay.
So for that, even me not being a huge Star Wars fan, I am very interested to see how they're going to redefine Star Wars for the new generations and the new things that they're going to try to establish with the new characters, the new planets, the new weapons, the new scenes, the new debate as to what the conflict will be between all the characters. So all of that is good. So for that, I do want to see it. And if it comes out this year, I haven't seen it, either of you, but Resurrection of Resurrection of F, Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
That definitely counts, because that's came out this year, and I definitely want to check it out. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, most of the time, just on a whim, I'm like, you know what, this looks awesome. Let's go see it. So I couldn't tell you like specifically which movies I'm going to go watch. But as of now, those are probably our top 3 that we're going to keep on our radar and try to catch in the theaters.
If you guys have any suggestions, or you see something, that's amazing and think we need to be aware of it, of course, always let us know on Twitter. We'll look up trailers. We'll either say, you cray, or we'll go out and see it and enjoy it, and would love to have a dialogue with you guys about what you've seen and enjoyed as well.
And the second question this week comes from Mike, also from Facebook.
Mike asked, which of the theme park expansions are you most excited about? Disney's Star Wars / Toy Story, or Universal's King Kong / Nintendo? Man, I'm conflicted about this one.
Oh, I know you are.
Because one offers great job opportunities, and one is something that I'm very passionate about. So I can't decide.
I decide immediately, like the Nintendo Land, of course. That's absolutely excited for that. It's basically like having our own Nintendo World and Pokemon Center here in Florida.
Assuming that they do it like we hope they'll do it.
Well, they are going to have some products there from those places like PokemonCenter.com, and they're absolutely going to bring it to Florida. They would just sell it right there. It's easy. Mm-hmm. So for us, it'd be like, okay, let's get that season pass that we were talking about getting, and we can visit the Nintendo Land only if we want, or from there we can go to Harry Potter World and the Simpsons Land. So
no, not Simpsons Land.
I haven't been to the new one.
But that ride makes me sick. We can't ride the ride.
No, we won't ride the ride.
It makes me sick.
It's not a good ride.
For like weeks. But we can get some Duff beer.
That's exactly what I want to go for. Yeah, Moe's Tavern and the Flamin' Moe, even though it's not, they don't actually put it on fire for safety reasons.
Some butterbeer. Butterbeer is always delicious.
It's diabetes in a cup.
Yeah,
is what that is.
I love it. Oh, so good.
Only once for me. That's all I needed.
Love me them diabetes.
So there you go. Mine's Universal, and you are undecided.
Conflicted. I told you this is a difficult decision for me.
And with that will wrap it up for our news. We can move on forward with some comic book reviews. We've got 3 indie comics and 5 DC books.
First, we're going to start off with Adventure Time number 43. This is written by Christopher Hastings and Sean Strubble, with art by Philip Murphy and Ben Sears, and the colorist is Marta Lyhow and Sean Strubble.
This is the story of what would happen if James Bond infiltrated the Candy Kingdom and James Bond was Finn and Jake.
Secret Agent Finn and Jake. Secret Agent Finn and Jake.
They were absolutely hilarious. I enjoyed their entire spy tropes that was built in there for the story, and how you get that Adventure Time humor on top of it. And then the backup story with Ice King and the Poet Knight, like that was absolutely great.
Ice King's the best. This was a very humorous, very fun comic book. They recently changed their creative team, but they've done a fantastic job in keeping with the feel of the show. My favorite part of this whole book, though, was how Finn and Jake escaped from jail.
Yeah.
Because, like, why didn't you just do that from the beginning?
You definitely have to check it out. If you're reading the series, Adventure Time is also good for kids. If you have any kids out there, it's fun for everyone, really. Mm-hmm. Next is Lumberjanes number 17, written by Shannon Waters and Noelle Stevenson, art by Brooke Allen, and colors also by Marta Lyhow.
This is the end of an arc, so our next issue will be the beginning of an arc, a great jumping on point. But I really, really enjoyed the story that we got. It's one of the most fun that we've had from them in a while, but it really shows the history of the Lumberjanes. You get more insight into characters. You get to see the girls grow. You get to see, like, some real weird elephant, snake, gorilla. I don't even know what he was. God, he was pretty cool. I thought it was a great way to wrap it up. It answered all the questions and kind of rounded everything out very nicely.
And gave us sort of a new character that we'll see join the Lumberjanes. Yeah, I enjoyed this arc more than the previous ones, and it was definitely a strong one. If they do choose to put this into the movie, then great, but if not, it, as you mentioned, gave us a lot of background on the characters, which is always something we all need when you have a brand new original story like Lumberjanes.
Our next book is Mickey Mouse number 3. Daniel's going to read all these names.
Written by Carl Fahlberg, Bill Walsh, Coleto Bezio, and Wilfred Houghton. With art by Paul Murray, Manuel Gonzalez, Rick Hoover, and Wilfred Houghton. And colorist is Digicore Studios with Travis and Nicole Saitler.
They did not do their colorist names correctly.
Digicore did.
Yeah, but they're Digicore Studios. They just need to be Digicore.
Maybe that's the person's name.
And then Travis and Nicole need to become Tricole. That's all they need. Done.
So what do you think about the reprinted stories in this one?
I'm not a fan of Mickey Mouse to begin with. The thing I did enjoy about this book is it was one big story, but it was broken up by two mini stories. Mm-hmm. So I almost felt like it was a Mickey Mouse cartoon.
Right.
Because of the way they did that, which I thought was a lot of fun and pretty smart, actually, because it really brought the feel of Mickey Mouse into this. Was the story that great? Not really. The little side stories were fun, but that's because it's got the racist crow.
Yeah, I kind of wish that the comic was just made up of mini Mickey Mouse cartoons, mm-hmm. as you mentioned, or little stories. I think those would be a lot more fun to read through than a bigger Mickey Mouse tale, which, unfortunately, if it's not too good, it's going to be an entire comic, and sometimes even two comics if they extend it on to the next issue. But as you mentioned, the gems were those in-between stories, the 1 to 2 page little jokes that they had in there, and
right.
I wanted more of that. And if there is like a hard book compilation of those classic stories that were just in strips, I'm all down for it, and I'd have to do some research and see if something like that is still in print. But otherwise, I think I do have to drop Mickey Mouse. We gave it 3 issues, and so far it looks like the only one we're keeping from this new relaunch of Disney Comics is going to be Uncle Scrooge.
And this book actually was my pass of the week, obviously.
Yeah, not my pass, but definitely not the greatest. But we can move forward into some better books with DC Comics.
Mm-hmm. First up, we have Batgirl number 43. This is written by Brendan Fletcher and Cameron Stewart, with art by Babs Tarr, and the colorist is Serge Lapointe.
Jumping on point after the bit of disappointment that was Livewire. We liked the stories, but unfortunately they didn't do too much with the character. But in this one, I think it's a new first appearance of a new character. I haven't seen this new character in previous comics or any animated incarnations. So it could be that your local comic shop might be out of this due to speculators, but it is a good jumping on point with number 43. It's good when Batgirl's trying to defend her friends or her family with Jim Gordon. So you get some more of that with Batgirl 43, in which she is a little bit overprotective and isn't really allowing her friends to help her out. But at the same time, she knows that they're not going to be safe, and she'd rather be hurt herself than, just have them work in the background.
This issue is actually my disappointment of the week. I've added a new category.
New segment, yeah.
Yes, new category. This is my disappointment of the week. Batgirl is typically like one of the big hitters. Like, it's always at the bottom of my pile, which means it's the one I'm most excited to read. So I have to put it at the end so that I can get through like the Mickey Mouses of the world to get to what I'm most excited for. And it just didn't do it for me this week. I understood the story and I appreciated what she was trying to do for her friends, but it seemed so disjointed. Like, I felt like I skipped pages as I read, because we were here and now we're over here and now this guy's there and why is this guy here, and it didn't quite make sense to me.
See, I didn't mind that as much. I like that it moves a little bit quicker by taking you from setting to setting. I think it keeps the flow of the book moving quicker and keeps your attention longer, so I didn't mind it as much, and I actually thought it was a pretty good issue. Next, we have Harleen Quinzel, number 19, written by Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti, art by Chad Hardin, and colors by Alex Sinclair.
This is wrapping up the Popeye the Sailor Man arc.
It went on for quite a bit.
It did. This crazy seaweed madness. This issue was still really fun, as with all the Harley issues. Of course, there's lots of weed jokes and lots of other fun interactions. A mom moment, which moms are hilarious. I love it. Mm-hmm. The only thing that worries me about this book, and I love Jimmy and Amanda, and they do a great job, and they've made this character great. And I want to preface by saying I did really, really enjoy this issue, but I feel like they're relying on jokes that they've used for the last 18 issues.
I'll give him an example of one, because one doesn't immediately spring to mind. The same type of humor definitely appears.
Right, but I just mean, okay, they bring up weed again.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, they're just, I feel like it's the same kind of things that we've seen, which work really well and are really fun, and we're going to keep picking up the book, obviously, because we love them and we love this character, but I don't know how much longer it's going to hold other people.
Yeah, I wasn't too worried about that. I do feel like this arc could have been maybe an issue shorter, and it would have fit better with the Harley Quinn character and the Harley Quinn stories, because then they can have more fun in a shorter amount of time and do crazier stuff than trying to extend it into, I think, what ended up being 3 issues long. Mm-hmm. But we did get the introduction of what the next arc will be near the end of this comic, for like 4 or 5 pages too, as well as the return of a character from this series who I really liked in the past.
Yeah, the next issue, or the next arc, should be a lot of fun. I mean, of course, this whole comic has been fun. So definitely looking forward to it. Like we said, number 20 will be a jumping on point. Our next book, as we mentioned earlier that we would get to it, is Justice League Gods and Monsters number 3. This is written by J.M. DeMatteis and Bruce Timm, with art by Tony Silas, and the colorist is Tony Avina.
This one is actually my pass of the week.
I could see that.
It seemed like issue 1 was my favorite of the 3-issue miniseries, and then as it continued, it did unfortunately get progressively worse. And we had like an introduction of a villain at the end of number 2, and then in number 3, it's them just trying to deal with it. There's a neat thing they do here in which, as they're fighting this villain, there's an alternate take where Lois Lane is like, well, no one was here to witness any of this, and we're just taking into account what they told us and what other people might have guessed that they did, but they were taken over with their mind, but I think they were actually just doing this out of their own will. So I thought that was kind of neat, a really cool spin on it, because it's like there was no evidence, but then you see why there was no evidence, because Superman, I don't want to spoil it, but there's every single thing that they do there, it could be taken the wrong way, and you see the true version of everything, but it sets up the fear that a lot of the people have. By the time you do watch the Justice League animated movie, you understand why people are afraid of this Justice League.
This isn't my pass, obviously, but I did have a lot of things that bothered me about this book. I felt it was too similar to the movie.
Yes, it was.
It changed the villain.
Exact same motive.
Right. Not even the motive, like the same thing. It was the same thing. Mm-hmm. Something else that bothered me is Lois Lane. Like, I understand her skepticism at first, but now she's just being a bitch. Like, now it's just, oh, how dare they, oh, this, oh, that, oh, I don't believe them. Like, Lois, like, you're a reporter. Use some investigation. Don't just say, well, they said this, but I don't believe them. Like, nobody wants to hear that. That's
what I liked in the movie when Adnan goes, what a bitch.
Yeah. Well, and she is. She's not a very good reporter. She's Fox News. Like, she's just saying, okay, a reporter, and yes, it's a different world, and she's on news.com or whatever.
It's like News DMZ or something they called it.
Whatever they call it. And, maybe she is giving her opinion or whatever. But if she's a true reporter, she should just report. Sources say that this shit happened, not this happened and I don't believe them.
Well, that's what the whole thing is. It's a different take on Lois Lane, where if she's not working for the Daily Planet, she's working at a place like DMZ and just kind of making up things and try to get more entertainment, try to get more views, and try to get more clicks, all of that stuff. I understand it, and I could see why you were kind of frustrated with it, because you saw it in the movie, you see it in the comics, and so my pass of the week overall, just go straight to the movie. Check out the one-shots if you must for each character. Our favorite one being the Superman one-shot followed by Batman. Least favorite one being the Wonder Woman one-shot. Now you can check those out beforehand and then check out the movie, but you don't need to see Justice League Gods and Monsters or read 1 through 3 at all to enjoy
You're just going to see it in the movie. So
basically, yep. Next is my pick of the week, which is actually Sinestro number 14.
Take it back. Take it back. Your pick of the week can be this next one that we're talking about.
Anyway, my pick of the week is Sinestro 14, written by Cullen Bunn, art by Robson Rocha, and colors by Jason Wright.
Sinestro is so cool, and this new Yellow Lantern is pretty cool, too.
Yeah, very interesting powers on this new one. Another jumping on point for any new readers trying to get into a series. And it's fitting because you get a new Sinestro Corps member, and he's explained by Sinestro personally how the Corps works and what they stand for. So you, as a new reader, could be like, oh, okay, so I understand what the position is of that army, what Sinestro's planning to do, and how their powers actually work. Like, it gives you a good rundown on how the rings work, what his past is as a Green Lantern, and where the Green Lanterns are, and how he's taken a position of power in the universe. Like, all good things happening here.
Yeah, this character, too, I love her personality because, of course, you know, it opens up whenever a ring goes to somebody. It's, yo, you can make people scared. You have the power to control great fear. And, you know, this creature, she doesn't understand why. And you see her, you know, very meek and mild, and Sinestro's talking her through that, and like, no, you can do great things. I know you can. And you get the reveal of those things at the end of this book, and it's amazing. It's terrifying, but it's so cool, and I can't wait to see where this goes.
Even the little interaction between Saronic and the new character, like, Cullen is taking all these little opportunities to play with the characters, and he is doing it, and he's fleshing them out. And that's why this book is so successful in terms of, like, this is really good writing and it's good storytelling. I want this book to sell more because it's following in Jeff Johns' footsteps and doing some justice to the character of Sinestro, staying in character with how he made him act in the Sinestro Corps War and the New 52 Green Lantern, all of that stuff, but making it his own and just following only Sinestro, which is the greatest Green Lantern of all time. So, great book, great issue.
The greatest everything lantern of all time. And our final book this week is We Are Robin, number 3. This is written by Lee Bermejo. I did it! Written by Lee Bermejo, with art by Rob Hayes and George Corona. Jorge Corona.
Do it over from the beginning.
Our final book this week is We Are Robin, number 3. This is written by Lee Bermejo, and the art is by Rob Haynes and Jorge Corona. There. Did I do it right?
You did it right.
I did it right. Them some hard names, man. I don't roll my R's well.
This would have been my pass of the week.
This would have been my pass of the week, too, except for the ending.
That's the whole summary of this. Like, they're trying to give us already a sacrifice in the story with characters that we're not...
I don't care.
We're not attached to.
Yes.
And it's a bunch of kids, and they're all a nice, tight group. So when they lose someone, you know it's going to continue and ripple off into the rest of the issues. Unfortunately, the storytelling to that wasn't too strong. The motivation, the action scenes, it's basically just a big book of let's defuse this bomb and be nervous about it the whole time.
Yeah.
And then we're going to give you this reveal of who is behind it the whole time from the beginning, from the first issue, which if you had told us that from issue 1, I probably would have been more hooked on everything else. And I'll tell you immediately, I'm fine with spoiling it here because it's frustrating that that they waited this long. And Alfred is the one who's actually the Nest, sort of helping out the Robins. And you get this bittersweet moment where he says, I couldn't bring another one home. Stop mocking me, as he's looking at at Jason Todd's old Robin costume. So that was a really good moment, and that's the only good part of this comic.
Yeah, everything you're saying is 100% the truth. Again, we don't care about these characters. They haven't done anything for us to care about them. I think they actually added too many characters to really hone in on any one person and make us go, oh no, like the guy died. Oh, who was he? I feel like I never saw him before that panel when he died. Mm-hmm. So that is frustrating. Something else that I don't understand too. Yes, I love that Alfred's behind all this. I think that's really cool. But I don't think Alfred would do that.
He wouldn't put other lives in danger.
Right, he wouldn't go out of his way to put other lives in danger, even if it meant making the city a little safer, because he never approved of Bruce doing that in the first place.
Exactly true.
So it was really cool to see Alfred and be like, "Whoa, Alfred, you're so cool!" And he had his little like claw hand
because of the events from Endgame,
right? And that's how I knew it was Alfred. I saw the little claw hand, and I'm like, "This is either Sinestro, this little Sinestro finger, or it's Alfred." So it was wonderful to see him, but I don't feel any of this is really in character. I haven't been impressed with this comic thus far.
We gave it 3 issues. It's second book we're going to be dropping as of this podcast. So, again, just give it a shot. They don't always work out, and that's one of them. Last week it was Black Canary, I think, that we ended up dropping. So there you go.
Maybe we have a little bit more money. Oh, wait, but then we bought this statue.
Yeah, unboxing is going through. We'll hopefully have that uploaded next week. And that's, again, the Batgirl statue designed by Babs Tarr that we had mentioned before. But the other unboxing that actually went up over the weekend was the poker set, the DC Villains poker set. So you can check out our full review for that on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/thereasonsimmbroke. You can also find the link to it at nerdupmedia.com/thereasonsimmbroke. Check out our unboxing, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out.
And that does actually do it for our podcast this week. Just to remind everyone, my pass of the week was Mickey Mouse number 3.
And my pass of the week was Justice League Gods and Monsters number 3.
And both of our picks of the week was Sinestro number 14.
We do want to thank all of you out there for tuning in again this week, and also for our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/thereasonsimmbroke. By the next episode, we will have mentioned the first round of Patreon supporters, and we're going to spread them out throughout next month. If you want to join the round of shoutouts, you can definitely head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimmbroke, and for a minimum monthly donation of $1 per month, you can also have your special shout out on the podcast. And if you donate a little bit more, there's different goals that we have right there for milestones and different perks. If you donate, say, $5, you get the decals, and every 3 months you'll get a different decal after that. But as of this moment, while we're recording it, we're only $5 away from hitting the first milestone goal already, which covers our basic upload costs, and from there we can work towards getting the alphonic improved audio for every single one of the episodes.
We do want to let you guys know, though, our podcast is always free. We will never charge for our podcast. This is just a small way that you can help us out and make it possible for us to put out a better podcast for all of you. But we have added a milestone. I've added a milestone right now. We talked about it last podcast, but when we get to like $1 million a month, we'll release a Bruce Timm comic book.
We'll re-release Justice League Gods and Monsters with improved animation.
Yes, and improved storytelling. And better characters.
And Kevin Conroy will replace, for the voice of Batman.
And Bruce Wayne will replace Kirk Langstrom.
So overall, a better production.
See, I would like that because this was the most not gay for Batman Superman that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But if we put Bruce Wayne in there, I think that would all change.
Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. I'd like to see that comic. Give me a crossover.
Certain that it would change. It'd be great. He'd be like, Dios mío. I've seen plenty of men in my life, but none as strong as you.
And he flicks a rose at Bruce Wayne.
And then you turn over and he's in like a flowy shirt. That's like, I love this.
That would be great.
That's when we get to $1 million a month. That's what we'll create for all of you.
If anything, if we were to hit that artist milestone, I'd have one of those artists do that. Give me a non-Superman in like a flowy Riffley shirt, and that'd be one of the winners.
Can he have a rose in his mouth?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, he could.
Love it. Love it.
So as always, you could also help us out if you're as broke as we are by leaving us a review on iTunes or on Stitcher. It's free, takes a couple minutes, and it stays up there forever and helps other broke cats find the show.
But that is all we have for you guys this week. Thank you so much. Put away them wallets and them pocketbooks and close out the checkout button for all the things that you've bought we've mentioned, because we're not going to make you any more broke this week. Thank you guys so much for your continued support and listening to the podcast. I'm Kelli.
And I'm Daniel.
We'll see you next week.